I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if you're just getting started with music production or songwriting or music in general, you're probably gonna suck at the beginning. Don't worry, this video is not gonna be a big downer video. I promise. My goal here is to help you learn how to think about learning and not get discouraged along the way, because the truth is a lot of people quit because they get discouraged, and in my opinion, a lot of people might stick with it longer by hearing me out. See, most people start doing music production and think they're going to improve super fast and start seeing crazy milestones, but that's really not the way it typically goes. Of course, there are those who will inevitably defy this rule, but come on, that's like one in a lot. So probably not you. And if it is you and you're just getting started and already making incredible productions, congrats, you're one of the rare ones. The question then becomes, what do you do with this information? I mean, what are you supposed to do when someone tells you you're probably gonna suck at the beginning? How about I tell you? And before we do this, obviously I'm using the word suck. And I use that word because I talk to a lot of beginners, and I know that the language people use in reference to themselves is oftentimes I suck. So let's go ahead and just start by saying you should not be saying I suck. So while I've used that word, let's not use it again. Number one, stop caring about what anyone else thinks. The fact is you shouldn't be worried about other people at all. At the beginning, it's probably not even really worth sharing a lot of your stuff unless it's to someone you trust who can give you specific feedback. So not your mom, who will just say everything you make is beautiful. If someone thinks you aren't good at the beginning, yeah, they're probably right. You really shouldn't care because you're a beginner. Let me give you an analogy. If you're super out of shape and you go to the gym, any self-respecting individual who's already in super good shape is gonna cheer you on and encourage you where you're at, not tear you down. And anyone who tears you down is just not someone you should ever be spending time with. It's just not healthy. And if they do tear you down, shame on them. Number two, stop comparing yourself to those who are professionals or those who are advanced. You're actually shooting yourself in the foot when you do this. If you're looking at someone who's been doing this for 10 to 20 years and saying, man, why can't I be like that? I mean, the answer is simple, because they have 10 to 20 years under their belt. What do you expect? When you look at those who are far, far ahead of you, that divide seems impossible to narrow. In other words, you're way more likely to quit than stick with it because you're gonna be down on yourself. This is a super hard thing for most people to hear, but a skill set like music takes years to develop, whether that's production, songwriting, or learning an instrument. So when you jump into this, it's not a short game. This is a marathon, and learning and growing is actually very difficult. The comparison game is dangerous, and it's very likely to cause you to get stuck where you're at, because rather than seeing your improvements as significant, your benchmark is those who are not even in the same league as you. Think of it this way, to go back to our gym analogy. If you start working out today, but you're looking at the guy who's been going every single day to the gym for the last 5 years, you cannot be looking at that person thinking, I'll be there in a week. That's insane. We all know that there's no way that's possible. It's not gonna happen. So it's much better to find people who are in the same stage or similar stage as you, where you can both celebrate the small wins, because at the beginning, the wins are usually small, seemingly insignificant, and grow to bigger over time. At the beginning, you'll be getting excited about the stuff that a veteran will think is obvious. So why would you put yourself in a position where you can't celebrate out of fear of being seen as the newbie or the person who doesn't know what the heck they're doing? That brings me to number three, and this is gonna contradict what I just said in a way, but put yourself in a situation where you can learn from someone far more advanced than you. Now, notice the difference here. I'm not saying compare or use this person as a benchmark. No, I'm saying learn from. Glean from this person, be a fly on the wall, get advice, ask questions, be an intern. If you're learning piano, get a teacher. If you're learning production, find a producer you can intern with or learn from. And obviously, that's much harder to do because they just aren't as easy to come by. But if you can find one in your area, call them, see if you can just learn from them. If not, obviously that's what this channel is for, and my course Producer Accelerator if you want to check that out. But one way or the other, the reality is that you will learn so much faster and get past the beginner phase way faster if someone can help you take the bigger leaps by essentially giving you the quote unquote cheat code. Now, there's no real cheat code, but someone who's more advanced is going to know what things matter and what things don't and help you see that. Maybe you don't really need to be worrying about X, Y, or Z and instead focus on something else that's going to help you learn faster. A lot of times I have students that ask questions that really aren't relevant to their own growth. They ask a question thinking it's a big deal, and they just need someone to say, you know what, that's really not a big deal. Think about this instead. And that just saves so much time, because now you're not worried about that thing for a week or longer. You just shave that time off. You're gonna be very hard pressed to learn fast by yourself. And also, look, I know a lot of people might think I'm just pitching my course, and yes, obviously I want you to check it out and consider it. But I've been preaching this stuff for longer than my course has existed, and I've been consistent over the years on this. And if you have a producer locally you can spend physical time with, then don't buy my course. Instead, go learn from someone in person, and you will learn learn faster. How do I know this? I know this because that is literally exactly what I did. I spent about 5 years learning how to produce on my own, and it was slow. And then I picked up the phone and called a producer I was referred to who was very successful in my area, and I asked him if I could learn from him. He actually invited me over that same day, and I ended up interning with him, and I almost got a job at his studio. That's obviously another story for another time, but my point is that this is not theoretical. I have personal experience with this. And guess what? When I spent that time with him, my learning was exponential, night and day difference in a very short period of time. Number 4, don't make your success everything right now. In other words, don't hinge your joy and happiness on the quality of your work. If you do, you'll be sorely disappointed that your work is not measuring up to the standard you've set for yourself. So instead, give yourself grace. You need to pace yourself out to make sure you're not setting unrealistic expectations for yourself. You will not be a hit producer overnight or a hit songwriter or a world-class musician overnight. It's just not going to happen. So find other things you're good at and blend that in with music, or at bare minimum, while you focus so hard on music, make sure that you're giving yourself space and time to enjoy something else to get a break. Creative energy is finite. In other words, you can run out of it. And when you run out of creative energy, that burnout sucks and it's really hard to get away from. Man, I thought I was not going to use the word suck again. Anyway, I have a whole video on how to avoid creative burnout right up here, but the point I'm making is that creative energy needs time to replenish. Sometimes it might only need a day, and sometimes it might need several days or even longer. So don't forget that you have a life, and music isn't the end all be all. And I know that's hard for some of us to hear, including myself, but it's true. If you have a family, be with your family. I have a wife and 2 kids, so sometimes I just need to spend time with them and get a reset and allow that tank to get filled back up again. Experiencing life is sometimes the best thing you can do to refill your creative tank. Go do fun things, go travel, be with friends, do something enjoyable, and you'll find that oftentimes those things help replenish that tank. If you're only finding happiness in the quality of your work, you're going to be so much more likely to be burned out. So rather than finding your happiness in the quality of your work, instead try to find joy in the quantity of your work. I actually talk about this in my video on how to learn how to produce 10 times faster right up in here. But if you get happy and excited about the amount of music you make instead of the quality, 1, you're gonna be happier, and 2, you're actually going to improve faster. When I first started out, I was not good. I was not making great music, and I was a beginner like everyone else, but I had so much fun making music, and that was the thing for me. It was about having fun. So when you're making music, find your happiness and joy, and just the fact that you're making music, I mean, hello, that's incredible, right? Number 5, you will improve if you give it time and good practice. That is a guarantee. The improvement may be small and it may be minor to you, but you will see improvement. So going back to our gym analogy, when it comes to getting in shape, it's easy to think I'm not seeing results, but you just can't see them right now. Give it a month, 2 months, 6 months. All of a sudden you look at pictures of where you were in the beginning and you realize, wow, I'm totally different. I've lost weight, I've gained muscle, I've gotten thinner, I look better. This is the same with creative practice. You aren't seeing how your brain is working when it's working. You can't see the improvement as it happens sometimes, but it is happening. And if you give yourself that time and do the things I've already talked about, you'll be well on your way to faster learning and faster improvement. And then good practice. Now, notice I didn't just say practice, I said good practice. You may have heard of the 10,000 hour rule, where the idea is that you need to spend 10,000 hours to become an expert at something. First of all, this rule has actually been debunked. I'm not gonna really get into that super deep here because you can literally just look it up and go as deep as you want. But the main thing is that the 10,000 hour rule does not account for the quality of practice. 2 people who spend the same amount of time practicing something will oftentimes see radically different results. I literally see this with my students. If one person spent 10,000 hours of lazy and undisciplined practice, they will not experience the same level of growth as the other person who spent 10,000 hours of extremely disciplined and quality practice. When I was in high school, I was really lucky. I was lucky enough to take piano lessons with a relatively well-known piano pedagogue, and what he taught me was to spend my time practicing with extreme levels of discipline and extreme levels of focus. Essentially, he taught me how to practice instead of how to just play the piano. So instead of him saying, here's how you play this thing, it was, here's how you can practice at home in a way that will be focused and directly oriented to your improvement. What he taught me allowed me to spend 1 hour of practice and accomplish more than I would ever have been able to accomplish in 3 hours before. The entire point here is that you can 100% learn faster by learning how to practice better, being more focused on your practice. This is obviously not a video on practice and such, but if you're spending lazy time practicing, you will learn very slow compared to practicing with extreme quality and extreme levels of discipline. That is actually the real secret of how how I developed as fast as I did. I was simply taught how to practice with discipline. So the more time and the more quality practice you put in, the more you will learn and the faster you will learn. With all of this, you need to have fun. This is why kids quit early. They don't have fun. They don't see it as enjoyable, so they quit. Don't let that be you. I'm happy to have stuck with it, and I have a better life now because I got through that phase of being a beginner. The more time and practice you spend, the less time that you're gonna spend being a beginner. I hope this helps. If so, would love for you to subscribe, like, and comment. We'll see you in the next one.